Here, back with another computer video. This one will be called The Tale of Two Computers. As you can see, I have two computers to do video on. I figured it'd just be easier to try and get them done in one video instead of two. So we're going to start off with this Dell machine here. This is Dell Dimension 3000. I just threw this back together a couple weeks ago. The board was actually sitting up in a cupboard with everything on it for the most part. I just had to put it back in the case and get everything wired up. This Dell features a 3 GHz Pentium 4 with hyper-threading and a whole 768 megs of RAM. This machine originally had 1 gig, shaking a little, but a stick died, so I just found a 256 stick of DDR400, as that's what this machine takes. It does have the original, I believe this is a 250 watt power supply, of course the big Delta fan. It's got a 40 gigabyte IDE hard drive. I know the cable management's a bit crap, but small cases, it's a bit hard to do. It does have optical drives in it, but this board acts really weird. It has a hard time detecting drives. And so when it does, sometimes it'll just hang, and it's been having the hardest time detecting an optical drive. I do not understand why. As you can see, it's 3 PCI slots. That's just basically what you got with these. These are related to the Dimension B110, if I'm not mistaken. Other ones would have possibly had AGP. I could be wrong about that. This machine actually has Linux on it. I will be booting them up after to show you. So let's go ahead and just turn it around here. You know, basic front panel, Pentium 4 and XP sticker. Headphone out, 2 USB, they do work. This machine still could use a bit of a clean, and I got to get a better cloth. And this drive is actually from this machine, as I was just testing it. And you see Dimension 3000. It does have a floppy drive, but I need to find my floppy drive cables, as both machines do. And so let's go on to this weird. This is like a Taggart Systems. This would have been like a whitebox PC builder back in the early 2000s, I believe. DVD drive, which is actually out of the Dell, and this is the other drive I just left in there. I wanted at least a DVD and CD recorder, and one that could just read CDs and all that in this machine. This is a full ATX case with a BioStar motherboard. I can't remember where the model is. It's hidden somewhere in here. I think it's like an M7. Where is that model identifying number on this board? M7 VG1, and see at the front, Athlon XP sticker. That is correct. This is an Athlon XP from the socket 462 era, and it's got an Athlon XP 2200 plus, which is clocked around 1 point some odd, I believe 1.7 or somewhere around there, and also the same amount of RAM as Dell. This board does have AGP. I believe it is 4X only though. This board takes either DDR, I believe it's 2100, or PC 100/133. The 2 slots over here for DDR, and then the other 2 are PC 100 slots, which is a really odd combination to see on an Athlon board, although earlier revisions did come with PC 100 or 133, and then later on you could get them with, you know, DDR and all that fun stuff. So we'll go ahead and flip this one around right quick. This is a 300 watt power supply that came with the board. And as you notice, it's not quite sitting right. It's because the board actually sits on a tray. When you undo this other panel on the side, you just undo a couple connectors, and the whole board basically comes off on the tray, and you can leave stuff mounted in it, and it acts almost as like a test station. So at the top, of course, your standard PS2, 2 USB, Ethernet, serial VGA. I believe it's like S3 Verge, parallel audio. The audio on this board is actually garbage. I only get one channel for whatever reason, and of course game port. Video card is a GeForce 4 MX200 VGA S-Video and composite out, which I've used on that 32-inch Trinitron sitting over there. Dell has a similar layout. There goes the side panel. Power supply, you know, PS2. More USB on this. It's actually, I think, got 8 or 6 altogether, you know, PS2, audio out, serial VGA in parallel, Ethernet, no video card because I do not have a PCI video card for this machine. You know, the front panel, nothing much, just floppy, power reset. I haven't figured out how to get the reset button wired up, and a friend did that because he actually knew somebody named Shane Taggart, so he changed it. You know, there's the other panel, nothing much going on here, and then there's 2 USBs. I'm not sure if this board actually has a USB header. I'm going to have to go online and Google to play around a bit with the IDE settings on this machine. I don't know if the controller's going bad, or it's just a really weird controller, because I couldn't get it to detect the Dell's 40 gig hard drive unless I put it on channel 2, and it was set to cable select, even though you'd think it would work in master. That's not the first time I've actually seen this happen with a machine like this. And of course, here we are booted in the Linux. This is Ubuntu with XFCE 16.04.1. This is the long-term support version. It does get in. I can get it on the internet, but it's not very good at doing internet stuff. I've got a Nintendo emulator set up because so far that's basically the only thing that I could actually get working on this machine. Every time I try to load something in Wine, it just crashes. I went with Linux because it's the only thing I could actually get to install to one of these drives. As you can see, just a bunch of old Mario games. I would like to get like a composite PCI based card for this, kind of like what this one has, but PCI instead, so I could hook it up to a TV or something. This could just run old NES games and whatever. It was originally just going to run like Diablo 2, Age of Empires 2, Rise of Nations, stuff like that, because you don't need a super fast computer, but it won't even do that under Wine. So maybe when I get another hard drive, I'll get XP back on this, and that'll do a little better. But let's just go ahead and say load a quick game in the emulator. This is the ZS emulator. This is for Super Nintendo games. Of course, this is Super Mario Bros. 3. Don't ask why, but it's the one I play the most. You can see it runs pretty good. Just close this here. Other than that, there's a little bit of music on the drive. Of course, it's a little slow with IDE. If this had a SATA drive, it would be much better in my opinion. So we'll go here, places, vector. Age of Empires 2 is on the drive. Music I have a little bit on here because the sound card in this Dell actually works a lot better than this one. I'd like to maybe find like a Sound Blaster Live 5.1 or something just to chuck in this box. And I would like to see about maybe getting the RAM problem sorted in this, because I'm pretty sure these will take 2 gigs. I'd have to double check Google to make sure. And then maybe a new hard drive or two. And find a working optical drive, because I would like to have working optical media for my older machines. Doing it stuff over USB is a pain in the ass. Sure, it works for Linux with these machines and XP, but I end up running into issues. So we're going to go ahead and get the other computer booted up here, the Taggart system, and we'll be right back. Getting ready to screw around with the Taggart system. I found a floppy cable as I wanted to connect the floppy drive, but I think this one's actually for the Dell, as where it's blanked out on the connector. You probably won't be able to see it. My phone won't focus. This is in the wrong spot, so it doesn't actually connect onto the board. Connects on the floppy, but doesn't connect to the floppy connector on the board, which is really weird. So maybe it's proprietary to the Dell. I don't know. I'm going to have to find another one. But it's all booting up into XP, so that's probably going to take a good little bit, as this, you know, older machines love to be slow. And I also forgot to mention, it does have a case fan on the side, and both machines still actually have their COAs on the side for the serial key for like XP Home, of course, which is what these would have shipped with back in the day. Not many systems actually came with Pro that were sold to homes and things like that. There we go. XP booted up a little bit quicker than normal, so we're going to go ahead and just hit the auto adjust on my monitor. I don't know why it doesn't actually scale right. Could just be the video card, so we'll bring up properties. Here we go. Windows XP, Service Pack 3, AMD Athlon XP 1500 Plus at 1.3 gigahertz and 2. Why is it only doing? That's weird. I must have bumped a stick of RAM. That's odd. Or a BIOS setting, because that shouldn't be running at 1.3 gigahertz. But anyways, it is the right processor, but for whatever reason it's running a lot slower than I thought. That's strange. I'll have to tinker with that after, but as you can see, it's loaded and everything, so let's go ahead and try something here. We're going to just try and load up Diablo right quick, see how that does.